Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
It's our TOEIC unit. Probably some of our listeners out there are getting ready to take a TOEIC test or plan to in the near future. We're going to be talking about some of the important vocabulary that will be found on the TOEIC test. We wish you a lot of luck, too, in the future. But we left you after starting in on a unit talking about performance reviews and giving you some tips for really excelling at them, preparing you kind of on what to expect even. Some of you may not have had a real job yet, or at least a professional job in an office. I worked at a department store when I was 16 and in high school as a part-time job, and we didn't have performance reviews. So you might not run into them unless you work in sort of an office job, an office environment. Although, you know, I can't guarantee that. A lot of people think that they're helpful in just communication and communicating with your employees and making things even better between the two of you. You want to have a good relationship with your supervisor if absolutely possible.
Indeed, and I don't think there are a lot of people out there who want to have careers as taxi drivers or as convenience store clerks and things like that. Most of you want to have professional jobs in prestigious companies, and you're going to wear a suit and tie to the office every day. So, of course, you can expect to have these performance reviews either quarterly or annually. And we've got an example of a performance review in our lesson for today. We've got Tim, a salesman. I guess he works in sales, and he's having his performance review, and his supervisor is Lillian. So let's listen to Tim's performance review conducted by Lillian.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me today. Are you ready for your performance review?
Sure. I jotted down some notes beforehand. Is it okay if I refer to them during our discussion?
Certainly. I'm glad you came prepared. In fact, that is one of your primary strengths. You are diligent and organized, and I think that's a key to success in our business.
Thanks for the compliment.
I'm also impressed by your leadership skills. Several of your colleagues look to you for direction.
I'm glad to hear that. I try to provide support and guidance whenever I can.
Now, taking a look at weaknesses, I think there is room to improve your written communication skills.
Would you mind going into more detail about this?
Sure. I reviewed several sales emails. Although your emails were very cordial, I felt that you could have been more persuasive in them. In turn, this could generate more sales.
I see your point. I will make improving my emails one of my top goals for this quarter.
All in all, I think you are doing a terrific job, though. You're definitely an asset to our company. Now, before I conclude this review, do you have any feedback for me?
Not really. I'd just like to say that I'm really happy working under you and that we have a good atmosphere in our department.
So as you see, this is a conversation between Lillian, a manager, a supervisor, and Tim, a salesman. And it sounds like she's pretty happy with him, which is great. You always want to have a positive performance review. I have to add, we are constrained by time, meaning we don't have a lot of time, but this, as an example, is a very short performance review. Usually they go on for 30 minutes to an hour, so get ready for that. Maybe Tim's pretty new to the company as well, I don't know. So we've got Lillian, and she starts out by saying she thanks him, which I think is very nice. Some managers don't really appreciate the people that work for them, their time, but she does. And she says, thanks for taking the time to talk with me today, which is very nice. And then says, are you ready for your performance review? Typically, in formal offices and professional offices, you'll get a performance review that is written. And then you will meet with your supervisor or manager, and they'll go through that written performance review with you. It's not usually just oral or spoken.
Right, so I think she's trying to make this a relaxing atmosphere for Tim.
Yeah.
So first of all, she thanks him for taking the time to talk to her today. And then she asks him if he's ready for the performance review. Are you ready? Are you ready and set to go? And Tim says, sure. And then he goes on to say, I jotted down some notes beforehand. So yes, this indicates that he has made some preparations for the performance review. He thought about it. Gee, what am I going to be asked in the performance review? What is my supervisor going to say? So he wrote down some notes that were related to what he thought the performance review would be about. He wrote down some points that he thought he would use during the performance review. So he jotted them down. Remember, we talked about the word jot, to jot down. And then he has a question. Is it okay if I refer to them during our discussion? It might be considered rude if he looks at his notes while he's talking to his supervisor. So first of all, he asks if it's okay to use his notes.
Of course, she agrees with that. Who wouldn't? And she also compliments him for being prepared. That's wonderful that he's come to the office. He doesn't want to waste time, but he also wants to cover everything that's important to him. She says, in fact, that is one of your primary strengths. So right there, he's learning something that she feels is a big strength with him. Primary means of real importance. It's one of the most important things that you do well, primary strengths. So he's diligent, she says, and organized. Those are great things. If you're diligent, you don't give up until you get the job done. You're determined, you're diligent. You don't have to be asked to keep working or work harder. You're somebody that the boss can trust just to work on their own. As a manager, I can tell you that that is so valuable. To never have to worry about someone that you manage working hard is great. He's also organized, and she says, I think that's a key to success in our business.
Right, so yes, you need to know where all your documents are. You need to know all the phone numbers and email addresses and line IDs of all your clients and stuff like that. And you need to be able to find that information as soon as you can. And your desk is not a big mess. You don't have empty coffee cups on your desk and stuff like that. Everything is neat and tidy. You are organized. And then she goes on to say, I think that's a key to success in our business. Yes, being diligent, being hardworking, and being organized. You don't want to be scatterbrained when you're working in sales. You need to basically know what you're doing at all times. Otherwise, your company is going to lose business and you're going to get fired.
Yeah, scatterbrained is a great adjective. It just means you don't think through things and you're definitely not organized. For sales, you have to keep following up with clients and customers, so you need someone who's very diligent and organized. And Tim, of course, thanks his boss for the compliment. Yeah, it's nice to get a compliment. You should always thank someone who gives you a nice compliment. So if a compliment comes your way, it just means someone's praising you for something or telling you they admire some sort of quality that you have. She also goes on to tell him she's impressed by his leadership skills. Sounds like he might have a management position in his future because several of his colleagues, other salespeople that he works with, they look to Tim for direction, meaning they look at him and they watch what he's doing and they kind of want to follow his example. He sounds like he knows what he's doing and it sounds like he's successful and somebody that is someone that you can look up to, which is, these are all great qualities to have in an employee.
Right, so these are his colleagues, so they're all equal in position in the company, but for some reason they kind of think of him as being the person who knows what he's doing more than the other people, so they kind of look to him for direction. Gee, what should we do about this project? Well, I don't know. What would Tim do? Yeah, what would he say about it? And so that means he kind of has leadership abilities, so maybe in the future he will become a manager as well if he keeps up the good work. Now, here's what Tim has to say about that compliment. I'm glad to hear that. So, of course, when somebody gives you a compliment or when they compliment you, you should thank them for that compliment. I'm glad to hear that. Don't be modest and things like that. Oh, no, that's not me. They never look up to me. That's kind of useless, okay? Don't be modest. If someone gives you a compliment, then thank them for it.
Now we're going to go to the opposite. Remember, your performance review will go over your strengths and weaknesses, the pros and cons. So here's a weakness. Lillian says, I think there is room to improve your written communication skills. Now, obviously, if someone says written, it means they're talking about something that you write down. Emails, letters, those sorts of things. Maybe you're writing up projects. But communication is when you use your voice, writing, even expressions on your face to convey or to give somebody some sort of information, to share your thoughts, perhaps. At times, we have to communicate quietly. Sometimes you don't have the ability to actually use your voice. So you'll maybe make some motions or some gestures towards someone in a way to communicate. Here we're talking, of course, about his emails. Tim asks, would you mind going into more detail about this? Yeah, if you get a criticism, make sure you know exactly what they mean. Don't just assume you understand what they're saying. Ask for details.
Right, and remember, she's being very tactful here. She's not coming out and saying, Tim, your writing skills are just terrible. They're awful. Gee, where did you learn to write like that? Did you graduate from the 3rd grade? No, she wouldn't say stuff like that. That's going too extreme. She's being very tactful here, very sensitive. Yes, there is room to improve your written communication skills. She doesn't just come out and say, yeah, your writing is terrible. You really need to take a grammar course and stuff like that. That's a bit too strong. So she's being very nice here. And this is kind of interesting because I have run across people who have got great spoken skills. They can speak really well, but then when you read the stuff that they've written, it's like, gee, is this the same person? They don't even know how to write a topic sentence and then develop their ideas in the following paragraphs. So, of course, this probably is a common problem here. But again, he wants more details about why his written communication skills need more work.
Right, and just because you don't have good written communication skills doesn't mean you're dumb. Everyone has different talents and strengths. So if it's suggested that you take a course or work on something, don't feel bad. Just get to work on it. So she said, I reviewed several sales emails. And it says, although your emails were very cordial or polite, very friendly, cordial is really closely related to polite, I felt that you could have been more persuasive in them because, of course, he's in sales. So in turn, or if you are more persuasive in them, if that's something you could be, then this could generate more sales or produce more sales. If you're persuasive, you're able to talk someone into doing something that you want. So, yeah, you definitely need to have skills of persuasion if you go into sales. He's probably very good if he's just speaking to his clients or customers, but she wants him to work on his written skill and be more persuasive. So, again, generate is just means to produce or cause something to happen, to create something. I would say that brainstorming is a tool to help you generate new ideas. That's an example sentence.
Right, so in turn just means therefore, or as a result of this, you could create or generate more sales. And that's what this company is all about, increasing their sales. Yeah, you're very friendly in your letters. That's very nice. That's cool. But you need to get down to brass tacks. You need to get down to the nitty-gritty. You need to tell them exactly why they would be interested in your products and services and why they're best for you. Don't just say, oh, maybe you'd like our products, maybe you wouldn't. No, you need to be persuasive, and that's what she thinks he needs to do in his letters. And Tim says, I see your point. I understand what you're saying. I will make improving my emails one of my top goals for this quarter. So he takes this criticism in stride. He realizes that, yes, he probably does need to improve his writing skills. So he will include it on his notes, or in his notes. He will make that a goal for him to strive toward this quarter in the next 3 months.
Right. So that's what usually happens after you have these performance reviews. You walk away with some goals, new goals, and things that you can work on a little bit more the following year. So she says, all in all, or if you consider everything together, overall, you could say, overall, I think you were doing a terrific job, though, which is a nice thing to hear from your boss. You're definitely an asset to our company. Now, definitely just means absolutely, without any doubt, you're certain about something. You're certainly an asset to our company. You could say that too. If you're an asset, it just means you are someone who is very useful or very positive for that company to have in their employment. So that's a nice thing. If you own assets, those are the things that you own that are valuable, that are worth something in your life. The opposite or the opposite of the word asset would be liability. Now, to use that word asset as an example here, and by the way, guys, it is countable. I could say a sense of humor is a good asset to have in your life. A sense of humor, yeah, everybody loves to laugh.
Yeah, you don't want to be serious all the time. So yes, being funny is a good asset, but don't go overboard. Sometimes you can make jokes, sometimes you can't. So yes, she says that he is an asset to their company. And then she goes, now, before I conclude this review, do you have any feedback for me? And remember, we did mention this in our last program. These performance reviews will include this at the end. You'll have a chance to say things about your supervisor, and the same rules apply. You need to be polite about it. You need to be cordial, and you can't be too direct, and you can't be mean, okay? So Tim says, well, not really. I don't really have any feedback for you. I just like to say that I'm really happy working under you and that we have a good atmosphere in our department. So he is giving her he's giving her a compliment, and that is important as well because, as you've said before, nobody really likes to give these performance reviews, so I'm sure the supervisors and managers would like some compliments as well.
Absolutely. Well, someone that we always feel like we should compliment is our Chinese teacher. Let's listen now.
大家好，我是派老师。今天讲解的是11月份 Unit 10 Tips for Excelling at Performance Reviews 第2天的多益测验准备课程。这个单元介绍 Performance Review 绩效考核。接下来我们一起按照时间的先后顺序看看这段对话。Lillian 先开头。那一般而言，我们都会谢谢大家，谢谢别人拨空来做什么。怎么讲呢？Thanks for taking the time to do blah 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 blah. 好，要感谢别人拨空做什么事，我们就可以这样讲 Thanks for taking the time to talk with me. 谢谢你拨空跟我说话，跟我对话。好，接着 Tim 怎么回答 Sure, I jotted down some notes beforehand. 我事先 beforehand 就事先，我事先已经记了一些笔记。接下来他说Is it okay if I refer to them during our discussion? 好，再来我们看 Lillian 她说 Certainly 可以呀，你可以参考自己的笔记 I'm glad that you came prepared. I'm glad that you came prepared. 这里呢 prepared 就是主词补语，用来修饰前面的 you。我很高兴你是有备而来 You came prepared. 好，后面 In fact,That is one of your primary strengths. Okay, that is one of your primary strengths. 我们前一天就学到了 strengths and weaknesses. Strengths 当然就是优点、长处。那 primary 就是主要的长处。接下来到底有哪些长处呢？ Diligent and organized. 你很认真，很有条理。Organized 就是条理。那再来我们看Tim 要怎么样感谢人家？各位同学要学着点，我们听到别人赞美我们的时候，不要急着说哪里哪里，我们可以说 Thanks for the compliment， 谢谢你的赞美。那 Lillian 进一步的说 I am also impressed by your leadership skills。 好，这里呢 Lillian 就告诉他说，其实你有好多同仁他们都需要你的指引。Look to you for direction。这 direction 呢，其实就是指引的意思。老师给大家一个例句Under his direction. The college has developed an international reputation. 比方说，有个大学的校长很优秀啊，他非常的杰出，所以在他的指引，在他的指导之下，那这个学校，这所大学就享誉国际。好 ，Tim 接着说 ，I'm glad to hear that。那 Lillian 呢，又告诉他说，好啦，那 Lillian 讲完长处，是不是该是要给他一些建议了？Taking a look at weaknesses， 我们来看看你有哪些可以加强的地方。那这个时候哦 ，Tim 呢又怎么回应呢？这个是同学需要学习的地方哦。我们要虚心接受别人的意见。那如果我们想要别人更清楚的告诉我们，所以我们可以呢得到一些比较具体的建议的话，我们可以这样子说 ：Would you mind going into more detail about this?Would you mind going into more detail about this? Going to detail 其实就是要人家多说一些细节。其实还有一个讲法也很常用，请同学记下来。老师要说咯 Elaborate E-L-A-B-O-R-A-T-E Elaborate 不过要记住，这是不及物动词的用法 Elaborate on something。Can you elaborate on what you just said? Can you elaborate on what you just said? 你可不可以呢，把刚刚说的再说的更多一点，更有细节？我需要更多的细节。好 ，Lillian 回答 Sure。好，那接着呢，他就说了一些细节啦。Although your emails were very cordial， 虽然你的 email 写得很真诚。I felt that you could have been more persuasive in them. 同学有没有注意到这里用 you could have been? You could have been. 好 ，could 后面加 have 再加 pp， 表示你以前可以这么做，而没有这么做。你其实以前写 email 的时候可以更有说服力的。那我们就用 you could have 加 pp。这个是一个很实用的句型哦。同学要是想要跟自己的朋友说，你这个鞋子怎么这么好看？应该很贵吧？那你的同学却告诉你说，虽然好看，可是其实也不贵，因为我是在周年庆的时候买的。一般人的反应都会是，有这种好看，怎么不早点告诉我 ？You could have told me earlier. You could have told me. 好，你可以告诉我的，你告诉我，我就跟你一起去买了。好。再来，最后面 Lillian 在快要结束的时候，给他一个非常正面的肯定。You're definitely an asset to our company. 你是我们公司的宝啊。You're an asset to our company. Asset 是资产的意思，那这里当然就是你是我们公司的宝。那我们要怎么样回应他呢 ？Tim 作为他的部属。当然也要说，我很乐意在你的部门下工作。I'm really happy working under you. 以上就是我们多益测验第2天的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We've got some useful expressions here, and we're going to talk about something called discourse markers, or more colloquially, they're called transitions, okay? So if you're talking about one subject and then you want to talk about something else, there are words that you can use to do that transition smoothly and effectively.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to wrap up a discussion as well, and these are some ways to kind of wrap things up. Look at the first one. It says, anyway, let's discuss this matter in greater detail at a later time. Sometimes you'll be in the hallway and you run into a colleague and you start talking, but you know you have to get back to your desk because you have some deadlines to meet. So this is a word we'll often use just to kind of wrap up a discussion. So anyway, I need to get back, but it was good to catch up with you. So anyway is a good word that you'll often hear us use to kind of wrap something up, transition to the end of the conversation.
That's right. Let's discuss this matter in greater detail some other time. We don't have time now. We've got to get back to work. We've got other things to do. Here's another one. So. This is used quite often. So, and you kind of use that intonation in your voice to indicate that, yes, I'm no longer willing to talk about this topic. I don't really have time to continue. So, we should talk about something else, or we should end our discussion.
You don't always have to have that intonation, though, because I'll go, so let's do this. So, but you might hold on to it longer. I've heard different ways of saying this word. So let's move the meeting to 4. Maybe you're discussing the best time for a meeting. You have to change the meeting time. Everybody wants a different time, but it looks like 4 is probably going to be the best time for most people. So let's move the meeting to 4 p.m. That way everyone can attend. So that's a word that you'll hear us use quite often as well, isn't it?
And another one is well, which kind of serves the same function as so. Well, I'll think about it over the weekend and let you know on Monday. So, yeah, so, well, they kind of serve the same function.
And well is often used when someone doesn't really agree with you. Well, I'll see. You know, maybe someone invites you to go somewhere and you know you're busy, but you go, well, let me see. So it's not a word that I always think, oh, they definitely want to do it. Sometimes I think they really don't, but they don't want to tell you. Well, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, Dad, can we go to the park this weekend? Well, we'll just have to see if we've got time there, Sonny. Just wait and see, okay? So, yes, indeed, well does kind of mean that, yes, you're not quite in favor of that suggestion.
Or maybe you haven't decided yet. So here in this one, it says, well, I'll think about it over the weekend and let you know on Monday. So someone needs more time to consider something. Now, moving on to our discussion question, I'm going to ask you, Tom, what do you think your biggest strength is?
Ooh, biggest strength. Gee, I'm not sure. It depends on what the situation is, but I think I'm fairly social. Even though I was quite introverted when I was younger, I do like to interact with people and hear their ideas and things like that. So, yeah, that would be a big strength, I suppose, if I were working in the right company. What about you? What are your strengths?
I think I'm really diligent if I'm talking about strengths for the office. I think that I'm diligent and I work hard until a project is done. I don't like to let people down. But, yeah, there are lots of different strengths people bring, and we're not all the same. So we need to respect and admire the different strengths of our colleagues or coworkers around us. I think that's something that we can always think about and work towards. Well, we got to wrap up, guys. We're out of time. And as you know, we have no Chinese teacher at the end, but we hope you learned some really great words and can put them into your vocabulary and test well on your next TOEIC test. So for English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.